Hello and welcome to the Bike Show. Plenty to get through this week, including some new products and another car versus bike test with Brenwyn Naidu, the editor of the Sunday Times Motoring. But first, this bloke takes a look at this, which is the baby Multistrada.
Bigger is better, so we are told, but can't the opposite be true, that less is more? We have become rather obsessed with size and power. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that 100 brake horsepower was seen as excessive in a motorbike, but here we are today with bikes pushing 200 brake horsepower, and that's faintly ridiculous. The bikes need more and more crazy electronics to rein in all that power, not to mention self-control on the part of the rider when using the right wrist. It's all got a little bit out of hand, and where can you use all that power anyway? Take this bike, for example. This is the Ducati Multistrada 950. It's got 47 brake horsepower less than the 1200 model, but does that mean it's 47 times worse? No, of course not. 113 brake horsepower and 96 newton-meters of torque are very respectable figures. And to be honest, they give you all the performance you could possibly need. No, it's not 160 brake horsepower quick, but how quickly do you really want to get into trouble? The Multistrada 950 loses 5 kilograms and the IMU for lean-sensitive ABS over the 1200 models. There's no electronic suspension, but it is fully adjustable front and back. The engine is smooth and revs freely. You get 4 riding modes, 2 of which cut power to 75 brake horsepower, 3 levels of ABS, including fully off, and 8 levels of traction control. New switchgear makes all this a doddle to scroll through on the black and white digital dashboard. Brembo calipers bring everything to an easy stop. Wheels are 19-inch front and 17-inch rear and are cast alloy, but spoke wheels are an option. The whole package weighs 229 kilograms wet. It is supremely comfortable, although taller riders might feel that you want a little bit more legroom. Your feet are tucked up quite firmly under your bum, with quite an acute angle on your knee. It doesn't feel cramped, but you might want to stretch your legs a bit more often than on other bikes. Stand beside the bike and it looks intimidatingly tall, but in actual fact, the seat height is a very reasonable 840 millimeters. You feel as if you are sitting in the bike, with the tank and fairing rising up in front of you. Of course, this gives very good wind protection. The screen is easily adjustable one-handed. It's styled like an adventure bike, but would you really want to take it off-road? This, in a way, is the equivalent of a Land Rover Discovery. The capability is there, but how many actually see any dirt? It's too smart for that. There are many other options for hardcore off-roaders that would be more suitable. But that's not a problem. The fashion these days is for adventure styling because they look good and are eminently practical whether around town or on the open road. In fact, this type of bike is really the perfect all-rounder. Great on the daily commute, brilliant for a bit of weekend fun, comfortable enough to tour long distances. You could even have a ball at a track day if you were that way inclined. And if you do find yourself faced with a dirt road, well, it can handle that as well. To my mind, this 950 Multistrada is so much better than the 1200 Multistrada simply because I can use more of the power, more of the time in the real world. This 950 is a 1200 without a bit of gadgetry, and it becomes a less intimidating, easier to manage bike. As with other Ducatis we've tested this year, their key word is accessibility. Quality is right up there with any other bike on the market, and there's no doubt that the Ducati name still holds a promise of exotic luxury. And that's a promise which the 950 Multistrada fulfills properly. The world will call this the baby Multistrada, but to be honest, it's a fantastic bike in its own right and doesn't need to play second fiddle to anything else.
Well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? You really like the bike.
I absolutely loved it. I really did.
Even though it's a baby Ducati?
Baby, I mean, seriously. I mean, let's think, Ducati's first superbike, the 916.
Smaller capacity than this.
So how does that make this a baby?
No, the world has gone absolutely mad. I want to put you on the spot straight away. We get our Iron Horse spec box up. Price, really? We haven't mentioned that. How much is it going for?
176,000 in red.
Yes.
180,000 in white. Go figure.
Oh, I don't even want to go down that road. These sort of things really make my head hurt. OK, rating. Out of 10 we do it, so not going to be another 8.
I was going to give it a 9.
It sounds like it deserves a 9,
It
to be
does
honest.
deserve a 9, but it has to be a 7.5 or an 8.
Because?
There's too much competition. There is so much competition for this class of bike. I mean, look,
It is an incredibly crowded class, yeah. If you look at the slightly smaller capacities, you've got everything from Tracers to...
MT09 Tracer, you've got the Triumph 1050 Sport, you've got the Triumph 800 XRX.
That's true. KTM have got the 1090R.
1090R. And
I think KTM, price-wise, KTM is the only one that's almost, it's still cheaper than this.
yeah, because I mean, both the Triumphs and the Yamaha are about 129, 139,000, which is a lot cheaper.
And some of them have even got a little bit more horsepower as well.
Slightly, yes. The Tracer's got a couple more horsepower.
OK, well, what I see when I look at this bike isn't particularly those as competitors. How about our long-termers? Look, I know they're slightly bigger engine and they're more expensive, but if you look at it in that way, this becomes actually quite a bargain, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, both ours are around the 220, 230 mark, and this is at 176.
Playing exactly the same game.
The other problem is that this is the baby Multistrada.
Yeah,
but
so what's the daddy multi?
The base 1200 Multistrada is only 23,000 rand more.
And just from memory, you're getting a whole handful of horsepower, aren't you, for
Yeah,
that
you're
money?
getting another 47, 50 horsepower.
That's a lot.
And I know you like your horsepower.
I am quite fond of the stuff, yeah.
But there is something else, actually.
Go on.
The Kawasaki Versys 1000.
Yes,
About the
that is the same
same
thing.
price as this,
The same
almost.
sort of engine size and the same sort of price, yeah.
So
I'd rather have the Ducati, the V-twin, to be honest. It
Definitely.
suits this kind of bike.
Yeah, definitely. So it would be a 9, but because of all the competition, it has to be an 8, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it's still, for some of them, a little bit on the pricey side, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's still a Ducati, and it is brilliant.
We'd both have one. Simple as that.